everyone. Hello. Welcome back to Tuesday Talks here on the Spiritual Download. Super excited today to talk about spiritual affirmations. So the first thing is I'm going to be sharing with you a few affirmations. And the first one is going to be coming from this song that I've heard recently from a band called, well, it's a singer, Richard Wagner, and he collaborated with this guy or this group called Forbidden Knowledge with the number 4. And listening to that video really brought me into the idea of what can spiritual affirmations do for us, and what is really the purpose of doing spiritual affirmations. And I think it's not about ego. It's not about human ego. Now, one thing that happens sometimes in the self-help movement is the self that wants to be helped is the one that is suffering, right? The one that is wanting something more in life, and that tends to be our ego, which is basically what I have written here: our egoic agenda. So I think our ego is pushing towards a certain agenda in life that it wants, rather than our intuition or what the universe has in store for us. So really thinking about, as we go through these affirmations, how can we go beyond the idea of our egoic agenda? So in society, our collective unconsciousness, really, our collective consciousness in society is highly based off of pain and suffering and separateness. So here in the United States, for example, or in Europe or other Western countries, it's a lot about the idea of I'm not you and we're not connected, and that to be a member of the society, you have to work really hard and you have to pretend to be something, or you have to wear a mask, literally and figuratively, pretending that you aren't your soul. And that's really, really tiring on us, very tiring. It leads to a lot of suffering as well in your body. So suffering is held inside of your body, and that's what we're going to explore today. So because we have grown up in a society that's filled with separateness, smallness as well, that we're not this big consciousness that we are, or that we aren't this big heart that we are right here in the center of ourselves, but rather that we think that, we're these players in a game. So our goal is going to be to feel into the body. So to practice that, we're going to start with some affirmations at each chakra, and then we're going to move into the affirmations from Richard Wagner. Okay. I'm going to say a few takeaways towards the end, but again, I want you to feel into your body as you hear me read these to you, and really kind of surrender to how they make you feel. So no matter how they make you feel. So what I have written here is, you might feel tenderness, especially in your heart area. You might have a sense of innocence, a feeling of innocence. You might have actual tears. Because you're going to be arriving to the space of abundance of love, abundance of consciousness, and abundance of your greatness, or seeing what your greatness is. And your greatness is not, again, that egoic agenda of being rich and famous and having that career that you've always wanted. It's not about money at all. Sometimes in the self-help movement with these affirmations, people want to say these affirmations so they make more money. Okay, that's not our goal, right? Our goal is to feel fully into what these affirmations bring us. Okay, so first, to practice going into our body, we're going to be doing each chakra. Okay, So you can close your eyes as you do this. Otherwise, you can have a soft gaze and kind of look around your room. But the goal is to put your awareness. So it's not what you're seeing necessarily, it's actually where your awareness is in your body. And you can have your eyes open or your eyes closed to feel into your body with your awareness. So first, we're going to start with our root chakra, which is near our private parts. I am disciplined. I am filled with humility. I am enough as I am. Now feel in your sacral chakra, which is just below your belly button, but on your spine. I am balanced. I know when to act and I know when to wait. I am both sensitive and strong. Now feel into your solar plexus, which is towards the upper part of your belly, but on your spine. I accept that I am learning and growing. I accept myself completely. I accept that I have strengths, and I accept that I have weaknesses. Now feel in your heart chakra. So it's behind your physical heart on your back. I am filled with courage. I love and appreciate myself as I am. Now feel in your throat chakra, so the back of your neck. I am filled with the power of spirit. I am growing and I am learning. Everyone is growing and learning. Now feel into your third eye, space between your eyebrows and the front part of your brain. I am wise. I make wise decisions. And our seventh chakra is our crown chakra, top of your head, maybe an inch to 6 inches above. I let go, and I trust the process of life. I am filled with greatness. Okay, so now that we have this kind of practice and we're feeling into our body, and we're letting these words kind of seep into our soul. Okay, again, it's the goal, even though it says I, we're looking at your bigger sense of I. So basically, whatever is the partner of your ego. What is the partner with your ego? It's your soul. What is the partner with your body as well? Not just your mind and your ego, but also your body. What is that partner that is associated and animates your whole body? Right? Your awareness animates and gives life to your body. So really feeling into that. So those affirmations came from MBG mindfulness. So our next one is the highlight here. So this is the lyrics of the song Affirmations by Richard Wagner and Forbidden Knowledge. So again, return your awareness to your body, specifically probably near your heart chakra for these. I am the architect of my life. I build its foundation and choose its contents. Today I am full of energy and overflowing with joy. My body is healthy. My mind is brilliant. My soul is tranquil. I am superior to negative thoughts and low actions. I have been given endless talents, which I begin to utilize each day. I forgive those who have harmed me in my past and peacefully detach from them. A river of compassion washes away anger and replaces it with love. I am guided in every step by spirits who lead me towards what I must know and do. My relationships are becoming stronger and more stable each day. I possess qualities needed to be extremely successful. My business is growing, expanding, and thriving. Creative energy surges through me and leads me to new and brilliant ideas. Happiness is a choice, and I base my happiness on my own accomplishments and the blessings I have been given. My ability to conquer my challenges is limitless. My potential is to succeed. My potential to succeed is infinite. Each day, I am closer to finding the income source that is right for me. I am courageous and I stand up for myself. My thoughts are filled with positivity and my life is plentiful with prosperity. Today, I abandon my old habits and take up new, more positive ones. Many people look up to me and recognize my worth. I am admired. I am blessed with an incredible family and wonderful friends. I acknowledge my own self-worth and my self-confidence is soaring. Everything that is happening now is happening for my ultimate good. I am a powerhouse. I am indestructible. Today, these times are difficult, but they're only a short phase of my life. My future is an ideal projection of what I envision now. My efforts are being supported by the universe. My dreams manifest into reality right before my eyes. I radiate beauty, charm, and grace. I am conquering my illness. I am defeating it steadily each day. I declare health on my body. My obstacles are moving out of my way. My path is carved towards greatness. I wake up today with strength in my heart and clarity in my mind. My fears of tomorrow are simply melting away. I'm going to repeat that one. My fears of tomorrow are simply melting away. I am at peace with all that has happened, is happening, and will happen. Let me repeat that. I am at peace with all that has happened, is happening, and will happen. My nature is divine. My nature is divine. I am spiritual. I am spiritual. And my life is just beginning. And my life is just beginning. That's it. So feel into what you experienced. Take a minute, maybe take a few deep breaths. What have you experienced just now? Have you felt any tenderness? Did you feel innocence? Did you feel like you were about to cry at any time? Did you feel a sense of abundance? Did you feel a sense of your dharma, your path, the path of your soul, or the ultimate purpose of your life? Did you feel into that? Did you grasp a new view of you? A new view of yourself, your greatest version of yourself? Or did you feel into your soul? Did you feel your soul? Now, from what we normally see in society, which is based on limit, separateness, suffering, and not meeting the demands, not working hard enough, not having enough money, versus what we just discovered, where life is inherently abundant. Life is naturally abundant. Now, feel which perspective feels the most real. Is it the one that is short-sighted and sees that, life is inherently not enough? Or is it the perspective of abundance, of your soul and your heart and your consciousness? Which perspective feels the most real for you? Now, so what is true for you in what you just experienced in the spiritual affirmations, that feeling of overwhelm of love, peace, greatness, and connection to everything? That's the point. Because what is true for you is true for everyone too. Okay, so these affirmations are not just for you, the one person over there listening to this video. These affirmations are meant for everyone, everybody, all of humanity and history and where we're going, right? This one right here. I am at peace with all that has happened, is happening, and will happen. I am at peace with all that has happened, is happening, and will happen. What is that which has happened, that which is happening, and that which will happen? What exactly is that, right? So, because we're talking about everything. One that I would add there is I am at peace with all that has happened, is happening, will happen, and could ever happen. You're at peace with everything that could ever happen as well. So like anything that could happen to humanity, anything that could happen to Earth, anything that could happen to you, your family, anything that could happen to me, right? Everything that happens to anybody is happening to us because we're all super connected, right? Through that oneness. Okay. So if this is true of what we've talked about in these spiritual affirmations, so if that's true for you and it's true for everybody, that means this truth is an aspect of life herself, or life itself. Okay, I chose life herself because I like to think about, life, earth, nature as a being, not just, some inanimate thing, right? Like God, we say either him or her. And so like, why can't we call life that? Like, so thinking of life as kind of like your elementary school teacher, who was probably a woman, right? So think of life as your elementary school teacher trying to teach you really basic things, right? Actually, what is basic is also the most advanced. Like in kindergarten, I've talked about this before, but in kindergarten, you learn about sharing is caring, right? So sharing is extremely, extremely valuable. And it's actually sharing is one of the, it's one of the key things to getting along with everybody, right? So that might be a true aspect of life. Now, what that is would be a law of spirituality. You see that what is true in life is also a law of spirituality. So all these like general rules that we're learning about. Let's use an example. So let's do this one. Happiness is a choice, and I base my happiness on my own accomplishments and the blessings I have been given. Okay, so happiness is a choice. I base my happiness on my own accomplishments and the blessings I have been given. Okay, so this is an affirmation. Most people think that an affirmation is meant to for you to become so like rich and famous and powerful. Okay, but these affirmations, if you look at it in a different way, and you see that these are spiritual laws that we're just repeating. These are mantras that you're just repeating to yourself. These are more like mantras and not affirmations to get rich and famous. These are literally mantras. These are and what mantras are laws of the spiritual reality of life. They're actual laws, right? So for example, like God is both human and God. That's a spiritual law, because God is like the ultimate thing or non-thing, and God is omnipotent, omnipresent. So God is and in all things. So he or she, right, is everything. So humans and not humans. God is God and all that we think is not God. So that's how huge God could be. And also God is, let me go back to that phrase. God is in the middle of, or is the essence of, all that has happened, is happening, will happen, and could ever happen. God is all of that. Hello, Incessant 2. Good to see you. Okay. So let me get back to my first notes. So those are laws. These are laws of spirituality. Okay. And the 7 chakra affirmations that we went through, the root, sacral, solar plexus, heart, throat, third eye, crown. For example, at the third eye, where you say, I am wise and I make wise decisions. I am wise and I make wise decisions. That is also a spiritual law. Okay. Not just that you are, but that life itself is helping you do that. That's also one of the keys here, is that life herself, the universe, is helping you to become your greatest self. Okay. It's actually us, the human ego agenda, that's getting in the way. There's nothing else that's getting in the way of our greatness and our being able to see God and have union with God, besides our own ignorance and our own smallness, our own limitedness, which we're learning from each other. We're just learning limitedness just from each other, right? Like we taught each other, our parents taught us, we're probably going to teach our kids. It's just a cycle of limitedness, separateness, struggle, and things like this. And that's what gets in the way of for us to have union with not just God, but our true selves. Imagine everybody like living as their true self, right? This would just be heaven. We would be living in heaven if that was the case. But we're not quite there. And maybe there's a reason for that, right? Maybe there is a reason for that. Okay. All right, so I have a question here. in the chat. Let me address that right now. All right, King David, when you say non-duality, what do you mean? Non-duality. So when I say non-duality, what do I mean? I think that's what you're asking. So dual means two, and dual could either refer to the duality between the observer and that which is observed. So like the observer observing the tree, and the idea is that that's separate. Okay. So that's one way of seeing a duality, but also there seems to be a duality that some people believe between like the spiritual realm and the physical realm. So the belief that the physical realm is not spiritual would be seen as dual. Now, how some people view non-duality, or like Advaita Vedanta, for example, or in Buddhism sometimes, there's the idea of non-duality for that belief system or that view of seeing the world. That comes from the idea that everything is ultimately non-dual. Everything is ultimately connected as one, but in the spiritual realm. And that here in the physical realm, often this is called Maya, or basically suffering and illusion. But you see the issue here. So this is a whole nother topic, but this is important to address anyways. Do you see that when the viewpoint is that spirituality is full of non-duality or oneness, but then now this human realm of cats and cars and things like this, that this realm is separate from non-duality? Do you see that that's a duality? So for me, all of that is a non-dual oneness. So, and this is what I've learned from my teachers, who are also like believe in the ultimate non-duality of everything, which would be human life. So that's part of it. Nothingness is part of the non-duality. And then everythingness, which most people view God as everythingness, that's non-duality. But if you take all of that, so nothingness or non-existence, plus everything that has existed, is existing, will exist, or ever could exist, and then regular life, regular human life as well. All of that is non-dual spirituality from my perspective. And how can it not? How can anything be outside of? How could anything be outside of it, right? If it's the ultimate reality, how could anything, even including non-existence and including our suffering, how could that be outside of that, right? So, good question, King David. That's how I view it, and that's what I, usually what I say is a mix of what I've experienced, but also what I've heard from my teachers as well. So, yeah, good question. Okay, so I was getting to this last point here that I have written down. But okay, so what is true for you is true for everyone too. So if you feel these affirmations to be very powerful for you, that's true for everybody. All of these affirmations would be powerful to everybody. But not just that, but literally that your experience is what everybody would experience. And that experience is non-dual. That experience is a true aspect of life herself. Okay. Yeah, no problem, King David. Yeah. But again, it's not about understanding ultimately, because non-duality sometimes becomes a belief system. And I try my best to avoid non-duality being a belief. Non-duality is meant to be experienced exclusively rather than be talked about. So it's actually best not to talk about it as much as you can, as little as you can. So yeah, it's all about experience and being. It's all about being. So that's what I hope for all of us to eventually become, is living life from a state of being rather than so much separateness, ideas, working hard, basically everything that we're taught as children in school. Besides what we learn in kindergarten, which is sharing is caring. We should just stick with that. Okay, anyways. So we're talking about true aspects of life or self, become and are laws of spirituality. Now, these laws of spirituality, where everything is based on abundance, tenderness, letting go, connection, living from your heart, being your greatest self, having an expanded sense of consciousness, having an extremely open mind. If these are laws of spirituality, what if these become laws of society, or basically norms of society? So bringing these great values, these great spiritual values, these great laws of spirituality, literally into humanity. What would that look like? So I have here written down, society may function this way in the future when we all begin to live from this lens. So society may function in this way, meaning the way of abundance of love and peace in the future. When we all begin, if all of us step into, basically having the courage to step into that way of being. Okay. Now that's a huge thing. And it sounds really easy to say. Stepping into peace, stepping into love, stepping into our dharma, stepping into purpose and oneness and expanded consciousness. But why is that so hard? Why is that so hard? Stepping into all of that greatness. And why is it that sticking to smallness, limitedness, pain, and our seeking, a lot of it is seeking for something that's material, seeking for something that is going to fall away eventually, like a career position or a new partner, something that we think will give us the love that we actually just are. If you go back to these spiritual affirmations about love, for example, let's see if I can. So like the crown chakra affirmation, for example, this is based on inherent abundance. So the crown chakra says, I let go and I trust the process of life. I am filled with greatness. I am filled with greatness. So if you add like a couple of other spiritual values to the end, like I let go, I trust the process of life herself, and I am filled with greatness, love, peace, abundance, things like this, right? So feeling into this and letting go and trusting that this is the way, this is the natural way of being, and that limitedness is what has been taught to us, and that we can go beyond that through courage, by being courageous. Okay, so basically it's really hard to do that because it's basically like ending life as you know it, right? So it's super scary. I mean, for example, fear of death. It's ultimately about fear of ending what you know. So ending a phase or a realm of consciousness that you're familiar and comfortable within. And it's kind of sad, but the reality is this, that I think we're kind of becoming really comfortable in this society that's based on smallness, limitedness, and separateness. So because we're comfortable with it, and we're comfortable with it because that's all that we know. We don't necessarily know what it could be like to live in a society that could function in the future through the lens of, abundance, innocence, tenderness, peace, and love. We don't really know what that looks like yet. So that's, scary. It's really scary to jump into something that we don't know what it would look like. Even though, right? Even though, what if someone told you, take a leap of faith, like literally jump towards that realm. And I guarantee you, the person who says, do the jump, and I guarantee you there's going to be peace and love, like infinite peace, infinite love, infinite joy. Even if you hear that, right, we're still going to be reluctant to jump into that realm. Even though it could be true, even though that might be what our future is. We don't know, even in this lifetime, we don't know if that's how it's going to end up being. So in order for that to become, the way of society in the future, if we really want that in our lives, and a lot of it's changing right now. A lot of things are up in the air. A lot of things about society, is up in the air. We don't really know what the future holds for the United States of America. We don't really know what the future holds for the United Nations or China or the global economy or modern science or universities or high schools. We don't really know what that looks like. A lot of it is up in the air. So what if we took control of the situation from our abundant power? I wanted to talk about power too. So, oftentimes in these affirmations, the power, people assume the power, comes from, is about outside power, meaning that you're having power over others in like a boardroom, where you're the boss, everyone needs to listen to you. Or for me, like as a teacher in front of the classroom, people like that power, but power comes from within, right? The power is like what we were talking about at the beginning of the video, feeling into your like sacral chakra or your solar plexus or your heart, right? Your heart chakra says here, I am filled with courage. I love and appreciate myself as I am. So the heart chakra is about courage and loving and appreciating exactly who you are and what you are. So that's where the power is. It's not, power gets manifested outside, but the source is within. Okay. Now, what if we see that the power of others is within, that the courage and love of others is within them? So then we begin to see them as souls, just like we see ourselves as souls. So that now we're living heart to heart, soul to soul in society, rather than that we're all pawns in this chess game of corporations, universities, needing to go to high school, needing to go to a 9-to-5 job, things that we don't like, that nobody likes. Nobody likes it, but we all do it. So, right, how do we find the courage within ourselves and seeing that in others, right? What if we join as a community? What if people who see it this way join as a community to find the courage to live like this? Right, so it's really about finding that courage inside of us, that strength, that power, and kind of seeing the future. Right, there was another affirmation about the future. I'm not gonna be able to find it right now, but the one that it says, the future is unfolding in front of my eyes. Well, I'm not seeing it right now. But basically, it's the idea that the future is literally unfolding in front of my eyes. Okay, so that might seem like, for some people who, when they talk about spiritual affirmations, that you can manifest things like money out of seemingly nowhere. You know, a little asterisk here. Yes, that's true. Yes, that can be possible, but not from an. You can't do that. Kind of a law of the universe is you can't do that from an egoic standpoint. It needs to be from the will of God, and not from the will of your ego. Hi, Wally. Yeah, so living from that space and not from the ego space is super vital. And so that's what we could see for our future. So the future is not just for you and not just for me, right? That's what these affirmations could point towards, that it's all about you and all about me, but it's about us. It's actually ultimately about the universe and ultimately about God. Okay, so the future, what we could see in the future, or what we could become in the future, is literally, you know, not in our hands, but it's in our chakra system. It's within us, the desire for all of this. And this desire for greatness, this desire for love, is not an egoic desire. It's actually the will of whatever created all of this. So whatever created all of this, created separateness, created oneness, right? And right now we're at an age of separateness. Its opposite is oneness, right? And another spiritual law is the yin and yang. Separateness, oneness, oneness, separateness. Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So what if that's what reality is? It's just a constant back and forth between union and then separateness. And with that separateness, you know, comes egos, comes not trusting God, comes corruption, power over others rather than power with others, all of these sorts of things. Right, so, all right. So if you guys have any other questions, you can type it in the chat. Otherwise, that's the main idea. That's the main idea. All right, questions here. All right, how can we begin to feel from our chakras rather than our egos? Good question, King David. Okay, so our egos, like I said, is that agenda. So the agenda for the ego usually comes from the lens of limitedness, smallness, and negativity, and blame and judgment. And it's usually like the loudest thing in our heads. It's our go-to when we're at work, when we're at school, when we're driving, and like even when we're hanging out with friends sometimes. It's the thing that is judging the situation as, and not taking things as is. So it's not, our egos aren't the thing that just flows like a river with the facts of life. You know, the facts of life would be that right now we have COVID and that we need to wear masks. Right now, that's just the reality of it. You can either hate it or just accept it and say, okay, this is part of the rules of this game. So, and not just the rules, but the whole game itself, which the rules come with the game. But the game is something that we can fight if we come together in the future. But the reality is, the situation is, what is the reality right now? What is the reality right now? And can I fully accept reality right now? So that's kind of how you begin to feel in your chakras, is by feeling into what is real right now. Okay. And basically, you know, like I said, your chakras are aligned on your central nervous system. So there are 7 points on your central nervous system. So, so basically meditation. So meditating and putting your awareness into your central nervous system, your spine. And one practice I've learned is breathing, and then visualizing energy going up and down your spine. That's a practice from Kriya Yoga. Just feeling it going in up and down your spine is a practice. So just putting as much as awareness as you can. So the thing is, we usually catch ourselves in the ego. I don't know if you've ever caught yourself like, wow, that was an egoic thought, or that was a judgment. And that moment when all of a sudden you don't believe in that thought, you actually like step away from that thought and you return to like this moment, this space of like innocence and tenderness and peace. And so when you begin to see that tenderness and peace, then you return back into your body awareness. Now your chakras are not the physical part of your body, it's actually your subtle body. So with time, you'll be able to see exactly what your chakras are. King David, yeah, definitely have caught myself in my ego before. Yeah, good. So that's step one. It's actually the most important step, is to catch yourself in that ego state. And because we tend to think that that's what we are. We tend to think that we are our ego, that we are, the thoughts in our mind. So we're actually much more than that. Our ego is just an aspect of our existence. It serves a tool, but oftentimes it just goes on overload. So being able to catch it on overload, you can use your ego at work and stuff like that to do the tasks. However, seeing that the ego, it serves a purpose, but not that you are exclusively your ego. That's kind of the key. So hopefully that helps. So yeah, and loving yourself, basically loving the feeling of breathing and meditating and being mindful, just loving that feeling, feeling peaceful. It's super, super fun. It's a great way of being. Okay. All right. So again, we meet every Tuesday at 6:30. Okay, 6:30 Central Time. You can catch on the Spiritual Download on Facebook. It's a page there. That's where I put all of my announcements and stuff. If there's a Tuesday that we miss, you can catch that. And then I'll announce the topic for this week. Yeah, you're welcome. I'll announce the topic for each week. Usually, I'll talk about that at the beginning of next class. But yeah, so basically the topics tend to be about philosophy, spirituality, meditation, and self-help and things like this. So that tends to be the topic, but I'm open to talking about anything. It's just I tend to be most passionate about the biggest ideas, or kind of philosophy, spirituality, and things like this. So all right, so hopefully I'll see you guys next week. Have a good week. Sending much love and peace to you guys.